What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video of Hit Squad Productions. Now, in this video, I wanted to look at the Cleveland Browns game last night. As you guys know, we lost 20-6. Brutal game, man. It definitely was a very physical game. To say the least. I thought there was some positives to take from the game, but I wanted to give my thoughts on the game, just kind of go over what I was thinking as the game was going on. So as you guys know, we lost 20-6. Now, for me, if not the biggest, I guess, positive you could take from the game was Andrew Thomas had a great game. Andrew Thomas looked solid going against Myles Garrett. I know the announcers were talking about it, and you could see it. Myles Garrett looked gassed, and not really just from him. He was coming off having COVID-19. He said that he had every possible symptom that you could have. He said that, in last week's game that, he felt a little bit out of breath just in the first half. So that just kind of shows you what the effects that this virus can happen to these players. I know that we see some of these players come up in a week, sometimes 2 weeks, and they seem perfectly fine, but you look at players like Cam Newton, you look at players now like Myles Garrett, where you can see a significant, decrease in their play. Now, I thought the play calling was actually fairly decent. I thought the play calling by Freddie Kitchens was pretty good. In my last video, I said that I thought it would be physical, but obviously with Jason Garrett still being the OC, these are still going to be his plays. They're still going to be coming out of his playbook. So I didn't expect that much of a change. But I do want to say that I thought Freddie Kitchens did a pretty solid job calling plays. Colt McCoy, I thought he played fairly well too. He didn't turn the ball over. He took some shots down the field, which I liked seeing. It didn't really help considering that Darius Slayton was dropping some balls, Evan Ingram was dropping some balls. But when you're having your receivers drop balls like that, obviously it's not going to help out the passing game. You're not going to be able to convert. You're not going to be able to really stretch the field too much if your receivers are dropping balls. Now, I thought the play calling was pretty good. I just thought the execution wasn't there. I think people need to understand the difference between is the play calling good or is the execution good. I thought Freddie Kitchens called a pretty solid game. I thought the execution wasn't there, but I thought he called a fairly solid game. Now, I like that Colt McCoy played pretty good. Colt McCoy didn't turn the ball over. I'm not the biggest Colt McCoy fan at all. I have no issue saying that. He's not going to go win you a game. He's not going to go put you on his shoulders. Obviously, he's a game manager at this point in his career. But I will give credit where credit is due to where he didn't turn the ball over. He looked pretty solid. He was checking the line very well. He was reading his reads, which we haven't really been able to do with Daniel Jones. He's more of a one-read option quarterback, where Colt McCoy is kind of looking all over the field and trying to get these players open. I credit his veteran leadership, but he's been doing that since he was in Cleveland. So, obviously we know that's something that Daniel Jones has to improve on. But I thought that, Colt McCoy did what we expected him to come there and do. Hopefully we could get DJ back for the Ravens game, but we may be having Colt McCoy depending on how that ankle is. Now, I also want to look at the opposite side, right? I want to look at some negatives. Now, my negatives with this game are, and sure, yeah, you can make a lot. But I understand, the team wanted to be aggressive. Joe Judge came out and said, against the Cleveland Browns, you're not going to win with field goals. I get that. And, honestly, he's right. He's 100% right, and they just came off a game where they threw 40 points on the Baltimore Ravens. So I get it, but for me, it was, okay, the first fake field goal. I thought that the Giants should have done one or two things. I thought that if you want to fake the field goal, traditionally line up, fake the field goal. I thought you would have a better chance of faking the defense out, as opposed to kind of just showing them, hey, we're faking this field goal. What are you going to do? But I respect the creativity. I just thought the execution wasn't there. Now, the second time, when we handed it off to Wayne Gallman, I would have preferred to hand it off to Alfred Morris in that position, just because Alfred Morris is that hard-hitting halfback that you want when you need that extra 1 or 2 yards. That's just my opinion. I would have preferred to give that ball to Alfred Morris, but I have no complaints with giving it to Wayne Gallman. I thought the Giants should have took points there too. But I think that, as a fan, we want our team to just take the points. But I understand, again, I want to stress this. I understand, being physical, but the execution just was not there. Now, the Giants couldn't get off the field defensively. We had some drives where we could, but a lot of drives, we couldn't. Now, the Giants, we couldn't stop Baker Mayfield and his passing game. We couldn't put pressure on Baker Mayfield at all. And I got to credit that offensive line. That offensive line looked very, very stout. Now, it just seemed like last year, right, where it would be 3rd and 7, 3rd and 12, and, we're just not getting off the ball. We're not getting off the field because, the opposing team is able to find someone open in the soft zone, and it just seemed like it worked every single time for Baker Mayfield, and it was frustrating because we haven't really seen that this year. But at the same time, look, guys, when your best defensive player is not on the field, all of your edge rushers are either on IR or they're not on the team anymore. You have David Mayo playing the edge rusher, which he's not an edge rusher. Some of your team is going to get exposed on the defensive side. You're going to get exposed, and it was clearly exposed. Our secondary, James Bradbury, is an important key to this defense. He's an important player, and it was shown last night. I hated that this got, switched to 8:30 because we got embarrassed nationally. I would have much rather get embarrassed on a 1 o'clock game to where, all these other games are going on and you really can't notice, right? But I just feel that when you have your best defensive player out, all of your edge rushers are on IR, or they're just not here, and you're playing with 6-round picks, which, don't get me wrong, Carter Coughlin is solid. Tate Crowder is solid, but Cam Brown is solid. But again, guys, that offensive line is very, very good for Cleveland. And you kind of saw that last week against Baltimore, where they were able to hold up Yannick Ngakoue and Matthew Judon. Now, my final thoughts on this game is that ultimately this team just lost to a better team. Cleveland was more physical. They clearly had the mismatch on us in terms of the players that were on the field. But I do want to say that this team is young. This team is coming along. They're still learning how to win, which is a positive in a sense, because you know that this team is headed in the right direction. But this team is still, and it kind of hurts me to say this, but this is the truth, this team is still a bad football team. We have a lot of growing to do, but I do think that the future is bright. And I do think that if we could get the right pieces, we'll be able to really, really become a competitive team next year. At the earliest. And nobody really thought that we were going to go to the playoffs this year. I do think that we are headed in the right direction and the potential is there, but this team still lacks talent in important areas. Definitely this team needs some wide receivers. The team needs a solid edge rusher. We need a solid number 2 cornerback. We have pieces that we need and that we should address this coming off season. That's only going to help this team. So hopefully we can address that. I thought the coaching staff has done an excellent job with the players that are on this team because they're getting the most out of their players. But this team needs some help. We're only a few pieces away from being a competitive team and possibly even a serious contender. Let me know your thoughts below. What were your thoughts on this game last night? Again, I just thought that, ultimately the Giants just lost to a better team. We're still young. We're still learning how to win. But this is still a bad football team. We have to go back and clear up some mistakes. Hopefully DJ can become our starting quarterback next week. I'm not banking on it just because he's dealing with 2 injuries. But, this team's headed in the right direction regardless of how the season goes. I'm very proud of how Joe Judge is having this team prepared week in and week out. Obviously, it just wasn't a good game, and we weren't able to execute. But hopefully we can get that cleared up, and hopefully we can play better against the Baltimore Ravens. This is another video with Hit Squad Productions. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts below. See you next video. So, you made it this far. Lovely. That means you must have liked what you saw. And if you did, why don't you subscribe? Leave a like. Comment below your thoughts. You have a Twitter? Cool. So do we. Follow us below. The link will be in the description. Hit Squad Productions out.